roll over or just to move?
Yeah.
David does like.
I'm real.
Yeah.
I don't know, I mean, I was on painkillers and headache after Good. You know, I still have pain on it from not being able to use his eye. So, I mean, I've been wearing that for a week. Headaches are getting worse. I feel like it's, and then, you know, it's been 6 or 7 weeks since the bone surgery, my first bone surgery. So, pain from that, getting this we're right at 3 weeks from the second surgery for left eye. So hopefully in 3 more weeks. Bone will be completely healed. Hopefully the eye.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Man,
Oh my gosh.
Go ahead. Call in the meeting. Call in the board and session.
yeah, I just have a quick thing, sorry, and I'll turn it over to you. Maureen and it kind of mentioned a couple things we need to remember just to make sure we, do things properly. And, one thing is to kind of stick to the agenda. It's just human. I'm going to take this out. I can't really properly. It's just kind of human sometimes to strike, but that's okay. But generally, try to stick to the agenda. It's fair. It's not fair to talk about something that's not on the agenda that way people won't have a chance to come and participate and knew we were going to talk about that. So, in public comments, try not to, it's so hard to have someone talk to you and you just have to sit there and stare at them. But that's kind of how we kind of do it, because otherwise you're starting a discussion, a deliberation on something that again isn't on the agenda. So it's okay to be polite and, and sometimes it's natural to nod a little bit, but try not to engage. Like I say, it's difficult as a human not to do that, but we have to, because that's just the way it is in open meetings type thing. Lastly, okay, there are not 5 members. Get an announcement that the alternate member will be promoted to voting as a regular member. Is that right? We don't have that problem with that, right? Okay. Anything else, Maureen?
That's it.
That's it.
Okay. All right. First up is roll call or public comment. Let's do the roll call. Okay. Chairperson Cindy Jones. Here. Board member Jacob Rahal.
Here.
Board member Iris Remus. Here. Vice Chair Monica Rasco. Here. Board member Dorothy Jason. Here. Alternate board member Nan Simpson. Here. And alternate board member Terry Burton Fiskett. Here. And council meeting sections on Brent Ford.
Here.
And are there any public comments? Yes, there was one. Okay. So we'll hear your public comments.
I would like to say that I am very, very grateful to be here and that you have a committee taking care of trees. That's been my concern for a very, very long time. And so I'm really looking forward to knowing what your plans are and understanding that we do have this serious, serious problem. I live on Stonehouse Circle, and I don't know whether any of you have been by there lately, but there is an awful lot of dead trees, and I think at this particular time we're very concerned about fire hazards and such as that. So I thank you for allowing me to be here, and I'm looking forward to knowing what's going to be going on. Okay, thank you.
Okay, next, approval of last meeting's report. board minutes.
Need a motion?
I move that we approve the minutes from the last tree board meeting.
All in favor, vote.
Joe call roll.
Board member Dorothy Jason. Yep. Vice Chair Monica. Here.
Yes.
Yes. Board member Iris Ramos. Yes. Board member Jacob McElroy.
Yes.
And Chair Cindy Jones.
Yes.
Okay, moving on, we have the swearing in of Jerry Brandisett as alternate member.
So technically, we don't have to swear her in, to a committee, but I want to do this.
How do you
We
You're
want
right.
you to do this.
She was voted in on the second vote of council, so that's all we're doing.
Wonderful. Wonderful to have you. And then next is the discussion of Tree City USA requirements. Application coming up in September. Where do we stand on this? But I make a motion that we
No, you can discuss it without a motion.
Yeah.
It's only if you take action.
This is a discussion.
Right. Where do we stand on that? What's required, we still, we have the inventory now. When we do need to change that into circumference, and I know a gentleman that'll be glad to do that for us. So we have figure out the circumferences from the diameters that we have. And so we can get that done.
Go ahead, sorry.
But that's all I have to say.
I was gonna say the requirements, if you look on page 7 of your packet, those go through what, the basic requirements are. Standard 1, tree board for department, that's us, check, yeah.
Ordinance,
Correct, we've got the tree care ordinance that's coming back for, I think, the final, vote, at the next council meeting. There was an amazing job on that, so that should be coming, should be checked here shortly. Community forestry program with an annual budget of at least $2. We are gonna make that provision in the budget. We're working on kind of what our forestry program is. Part of that is the surveys that you guys have done, to kind of see what's out there, what trees we have, what condition they're in. So that, I think that's works for that standard. And then the last one, the Arbor Day observance, which I think y'all were talking about doing at National Day, I'll put those together. So, we are well through that checklist, and what that checklist does is it makes sure that this committee is actually, working towards something, and that's what we're doing. And I hope that there'll be a Tree City by the, I guess.
We have a, on our to-do list in September is to complete the application and get it in. But the only thing really that's still pending is, and we do have a date, is that Arbor Day in October.
wonderful.
Anybody have any questions or thoughts or anything?
Yes, yes, okay. So, I'm glad to be back. I had a good week. It was very cool where I was. And, so I saw in the minutes from last time that the surveys were turned over to the city. The city.
Yes.
To the council. The city council turned over. So there, can I just ask what's going to happen at that point regarding these trees that were sick, broken, wounded, dying? What was going to happen to them?
Well, the ones that have to be removed from city property, will be taken down. The ones that are diseased, as we work with, we are looking forward to maybe getting a city arborist, somebody that we can count on, call out a contract and help us determine what to do with the diseased ones. But, starting with the inventory and getting all the good work that we all done to document all of them, that's sort of the beginning of our plan. And working with the tree board, we'll start, cleaning things up.
I have a couple more questions. Is this in the budget, the city budget, to take care of those trees?
We're working on a budget now for next year, and it does include, some money for tree work, oak wilt especially. So we do have budget for it now. We don't know what the final cost is going to be, and this could be a project that goes on for a couple of years. But yes, we do have budget allocated.
So, thank you.
Or it's not allocated yet. We haven't passed the budget.
Yeah, I understand we're beginning stages. I just wanted to make a comment. In doing the survey, there were many stressed and distressed from the drought trees. And I also noticed on Ranch Road 12 in Champions, I guess it was Wood Creek Drive and Ranch Road 12. There were trees that were lining that part of that small park that's there, that's facing Ranch Road 12. And of all the trees that I personally checked on, there were about 85 to 90 trees I think I worked on. Those trees seem to be more distressed because of, I think, being right by Ranch 12. And so I don't know if that's going to require any special attention or information, or it could be on the list somewhere, because I know that there's a lot to do. But it seemed like if we could do something to protect those trees. Some of them were really large trees. One of them was at least 82 inches in diameter. Circumference. Yeah, it took a lot to try to measure. So
Yeah, I've actually noticed that thing driving around, Central Texas, all over the place. It's like the vegetation beside the road is really struggling. It's already hot, and then you've got the heat, I guess, that comes off the asphalt that just makes it worse. And not to mention, exhaust and everything else. So, we could look at, I don't know, maybe some fencing or something to put a little protection up. We would look to the tree board to make those recommendations.
Yeah, we can always set up tree protection zones and kind of little restoration areas for parks that we have. I think that's a great idea.
Because, I did notice too, is that a lot of those trees won't damage to the roots from the lawnmower or the house thing.
So, something I found, like lawnmower damage is common on surfacing roots. That's typical of like a shallow watering schedule or no watering schedule. Go up. And then like weed eater damage around the trunks of trees. If we had mulch beds going around the trunks, that would prevent having the weed eating around the trunks of the trees. So something the city of Austin does is It's My Park Day, and then volunteers get together and put mulch around the base of trees. So when landscapers come to mow, they don't have to weed around the base of trees. Really helps the cambium of
Moisture, rain.
it. Also
Really
has
cooler. Breaks down
tons of great
compost.
benefits. Right. Of course, there's proper mulching.
Oh, yeah. Maybe utilizing a lot of those already dead trees to chipping, and using our own mulch back in.
Yeah, being a little more self-sustainable.
We can also do what we do every year. I see people
bags, 20, 30 bags, locally at the street, and I'm the one that's got one up to come up to bring it to my yard and sell it.
That's,
You know,
that's wonderful. I love that.
yeah, but
So a couple of things, right now we cannot walk, we cannot take trees. We, because of fire hazard, we're using the news just a few days ago, that people are discouraged from treating, and keeping those things close by, because of fire. So I don't know what it is. So,
I don't like that stuff at all.
no, me neither. I'm on leeches.
Go, yeah, go organic, you know, what's that?
I think by the time that they, get this together, probably will be a little bit cooler in the year.
Yeah. We're a month away from
Yes.
cooler weather.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Once they closer to rain.
so a couple of things that one is have a particular day where people like Protector Park Day. We think if we could do something like that or promote that.
For sure.
And also maybe if we had a place where we could still kind of store leaves right now, but if there was a place where people could bring their leaves and gather, then it could be used eventually.
I want them to use them on their own property.
Yeah.
Keep it on your own properties, the permaculture idea.
Yeah, mow on their own, and then
It's
they,
encouraging people to do so. I mean,
right.
how many people hire landscapers to haul those debris off? Half of the neighborhood, more than half.
I would say this, that this, we ought to do is have an agenda item, that we're gonna discuss.
Requirements, so we just,
Yeah, why don't we do an agenda item as we proceed, to explore these ideas, how to take care of the trees in the park, what are our recommendations with regard to sick trees? What kind of guidance can we give people with regard to their own property in terms of not throwing away stuff that they're using? But that could be a really good future agenda item. I don't think it's covered here, but it's, that's something we ought to start talking about now that we have the information in your observations,
So, okay.
Keep up with that, maybe this.
keep your notes, and we'll make the agenda. Yeah.
Okay. Spend a lot of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's important. That's what we're supposed to do.
It's a great idea. But we need to become a free city. So is there anything else?
Oh, yeah.
Is there anything else that it sounds like we've got things pretty well under control to be able to do it.
What's the deadline for the application?
September,
I think that's when it opens.
Oh, okay.
When the deadline.
Okay.
Okay. So we're in good shape. Okay, any more discussion on Tree City?
From the, I picked up quite a bit of literature in San Marcos, but this is a really good, just sheet on mulching, correctly. And, yeah, it's good if we can encourage people to put leaves down. Lots of people like more of a, finished look. So if we can encourage them to put leaves first, then that saves money from buying bags of mulch, but they could still top it with the mulch that's in the bag. But the mulch should be pretty thick too, to keep it moist.
And Dorothy, I would encourage you to, I mean, it's your decision what you want to do at the Arbor Day event, but information like that is helpful.
Yeah, I a lot to it.
Okay, any more on Tree City USA or?
I have a question. Okay, I didn't even know this group existed. Suddenly I got an invitation.
We've only met 2 times before.
Well, we have a person in this community who was my horticulture teacher at CNN. Her name is Elise Leduc, and she needs to be on this. She has forgotten. I'm going to ever learn about horticulture. So I'm going to recommend that we get in touch with her.
do we have an arborist? With this, our arborist?
That's what we're gonna talk about, this future agenda item, okay?
Oh, okay.
It's on there for a future
So
agenda item.
that's,
Yeah.
we're gonna try to find someone.
Yeah, we're gonna.
That's the-
Next.
yeah.
But, yeah, if, do you have my email?
Uh,
Email.
Yes, I do have your.
Would you mind emailing me her name and your contact? Yeah, I think we've got a full slate, but we're probably could use alternates, so I have to check the ordinance. And then
She knows more than I do, so, I mean,
Well, I mean, she can also just,
Yeah.
I'd like to know.
Yeah,
Get involved, this, yeah. Send that to me if you think about it.
she taught the maintenance course at PNN, you know, as a student there.
That's good to know.
Or she lives in Woodford.
She lives on, Stoneham. Somebody said they lived on Stoneham, I don't know.
Is Haggerty?
Huh? Do you all know Elise?
Oh, Miss Haggerty does.
No, who? Elise Ledoux. She was at number 8, Stoneham Circle. Elise, A-L, it's spelled Alice, A-L, but it's pronounced Elise. Anyway.
What's your number, Pat?
Huh?
What's your number?
I'm 32,
Okay.
and she,
Oh,
I know, I do know who you're speaking of. Yes, I do.
Okay.
Elise, yes.
Yeah. But, she needs to be involved in this.
Motion, we move on, motion to move to the next. Okay, this is just. Next on the agenda, discuss and take appropriate action on recommendation to city council on hiring a part-time certified arborist, amending an ordinance to reflect the position.
We have to make a motion to discuss this now.
You know, I've never understood that. Usually the way I do it is you talk about it and it crystallizes into a motion.
Okay.
I mean, people do it different ways, but to me, it seems more natural. Well, let's talk about it, and someone's gonna go, I make a motion if we recommend, or I make a motion if we don't recommend, but I think it's already talking about it first.
Okay.
I think Deborah would, I agree with you, but I don't know. I think it's,
I think we're okay.
I think we calm down. I think we're.
yeah, because it seems so awkward, we don't know what we're talking about.
Okay. So, what I know is that the city is, would like us to, make a, they have talked about the idea of, no, we're not gonna hire someone part-time. They're just gonna be, we'll have a person that they contract, somebody that they call when they need it. And it would be, they don't have enough money, plus they wouldn't be able to do. But if we find an expert and somebody that's certified, and then that person we contract with an unlimited advice, or trees need to be removed, and overall consultation and all that.
How or who do you identify that?
But I have no idea.
I just wonder, does City Hall have a list of service? Tree services? No, we don't. I mean, we have a list of people who, on the tree trimming permits, we have a list of who people use, but we don't, who go with. We don't recommend it.
I mean, what the city sometimes does, I don't know if it's appropriate here, she's, you can send out some requests for qualifications and let people submit. Do it that way, or I'm sure we word of mouth. I don't know what level this is at, where we could do the barbecues and all that stuff, or we just go, that's a good guy, this is in.
Right.
But, I think what they're kind of looking for is this seems like a good idea to be honest. I think it's correct, we can't hire somebody full time.
Yeah.
We didn't have to sit around waiting for something to do, but it could be on a case by case basis, hey, there's something we need to look at up here. So we'd like you guys to discuss it and give us some ideas and then any recommendations. Yeah.
I have a company that I recommend to my clients, Bartlett.
Yeah. Yeah,
I've been recommending them for 20-some odd years.
yeah. You guys think it's a good idea, that's something I'll look at, or, I mean, it costs a little bit of money, but.
I think that would be good to have this, that we could draw from. And I also think that having, one company that we work with, so there's some constancy about taking care of the trees. I mean, sometimes the work gets started, but it's not finished at the same time. And I think having one person, maybe that's not enough.
I think that's the idea, is to have one person. That's the whole idea.
Okay. So there's some knowledge and information about the neighborhood, and that's in a family of trees, not just one house.
One route, right. So somebody can look at the whole of the community and get to know the community over time.
But there's times of the year that we should not have. The trees, and always be.
But Jacob, do you have anything to add? That's in 2 minutes.
Oh, maybe a couple things. You know, making sure they're qualified, certified and accredited through, there's a few other organizations, TCIA is one of them, and being able to work with someone more local. I know she mentioned Bartlett, of course, you know, it's a company originally from New York, and they do have a space over in San Marcos, but, you know, keeping money local is pretty important, right? So having a local company would be ideal.
Bartlett's been in Austin for 30 years. You must be talking about someone else.
Oh, no, man.
Okay.
Bartlett is a nationwide company. Like Daily Tree Service or right. They got started 50-something years ago in New York.
Yeah, because they've had a big presence in Austin.
Oh yeah, and they're a great company. They have great arborists. They're a company, I believe they're TCI accredited. Of course, once you get companies that big, you have a certified arborist that comes out and does the estimate and sells you the job, but you don't guarantee having a certified arborist come out working on the trees. You don't have to be a certified arborist to do that. You can just be a green hornet.
That's not.
No, but I mean, Bartlett is a really good company.
Because there are probably some local ones.
How would you go?
Oh, I was just gonna say, using someone local would keep their tax money here. Is that right?
Really? They locally mean really?
Wimberley.
Yeah. I have a question. How would we go about finding? How do we go about finding the person?
So through the ISA Arbor website, you can look for certified arborists, and then through the TCI website, you can find accredited companies and certified arborists in your local area.
The ISA website, and what was the other?
TCIA.org
Okay.
is an organization. So those are great resources for finding someone with those qualifications, certifications, and local.
Am I interrupting you? Am I interrupting you? So, okay, I have another comment. Most people, well, we're behind right now because we've got stress, drought, obviously. And a lot of our trees are already hurting and neglect, you know, from normal wear and tear, I guess, on being outside. So I guess I'm wondering if when we look at hiring somebody, rather than just focusing on or prioritizing fixing the disease trees, I'm wondering if eventually we could also have somebody who checks the trees to see how they're doing. I have an air conditioning company that comes twice a year, no matter what, just to make sure that my air conditioner is working, usually before the season change.
I mean, that sounds wonderful. I think it's an idea we can aspire to, but we gotta start one step at a time. And the first thing would be to recommend to council, the first thing to do is to make a motion, recommend to council that, we think that it would be a good idea, a part-time arborist. So that's all we can do right now.
So I mentioned that, Monica, at the very beginning, that we are at the beginning of this working with disease, and trees at all or stress. I'm just knowing that if we're going to write a document stating what we want, that it would be good to put in the aspiration to have some proactive approach to taking.
I'm sorry.
Well, then what I've got so far is that we prefer to be, one company or one person, so that it's kind of get, consistent, work or whatever, that they have qualifications and the TCIA. I want to come back to that in just a minute. Also, someone who's local, there's some website, resources that we can recommend. And also, you're saying that we ought to try to get to the point where it's an ongoing review, or not just crisis management, we're also kind of maintaining this go forward. That's maybe a little ways down the road.
Yes, it's not really the priority right now, though with our survey, we did a lot of that. I think when we went out and checked the streets. And I think in the future, keeping it in budget.
Yeah, that's aspirational. I think it's fair. Let me ask, in terms of this, I mean, I know there's a certified arborist, and there's other people that are certified Oakville. People, I mean, who are we looking for in terms of certification?
So, of course, certified arborist. Now Oakville is a qualification that changed a few years ago from certification. And having someone that's qualified in Oakville is a plus. I wouldn't say it's required. But yeah, I mean, we live around oak trees, so having someone qualified in that is, maybe put them more of a priority, like a more of a potential.
Looking on the website, Oakville Specialists of Texas, I believe they are ISA certified arborists, Oakville certified arborists. And,
Call us.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
yes,
I work with them very close.
That's who we are.
That's who I give jobs to for Oakville.
Yeah. We kind of, it's a two thing with us. We've got the certified arborist that comes out of trims, and Paula comes out of trees.
She's really good.
She's really good.
Yeah, before I got into Oakville treatments, I would give her, if I recognized Oakville on the property, I would call her. She was my go-to. We go to conferences together. We got one coming up in September. So I'll be seeing her pretty soon.
Good. Good.
That company covers the ISA and the certified. Yeah.
Her website.
I don't hear very well. There's a website for the ISA.
Paula,
That gives you the list.
Local specialist.
ISA was
Info
She's
at
been in the really for
ISA
20-something years.
info at ISA.
Texas.com. And there's actually a number you can call as well. If you
Okay.
want to talk to a real person, that number is 979-324-1929.
Okay.
The Texas chapter, and it's in College Station.
Okay, well, that's helpful. So that's what I've got to council so far. We think it's a good idea. It'll be one person, someone who's qualified, as TCIA, or we can look at these websites and resources that you've given me. Want to be a local person if possible, and try to get to the point where we have an ongoing review. Once we work away out of the sewer crisis. So anything else or any other ideas I can pass on?
Staying local because they know the area, they know the people, they know the progression, they've seen the stages and the levels. So I'm with you, staying local with somebody.
Oh, yeah.
Who's seen
I mean,
it, done
we
it,
wanna-
seen it, done it.
Keep everything local.
Yeah, I would, yeah.
That sounds good. Do we have to make a motion? or
Yeah, I think, the motion would be, that recommend to the council that we, consider hiring a, gosh, I was looking for one here, hiring a part-time certified arborist, someone, I'm not helping this, am I? Need a motion to recommend that the council proceed to hiring, looking at hiring a part-time certified arborist. And, yeah. And then I can pass on these particulars.
Okay.
Question. Do we have a big, problem here with that well?
Oh, yes.
Well, where is it mostly?
My street.
Yeah, the next item is about Oakville. So, yeah, we'll talk about Oakville.
Okay, so let's go ahead and make a motion that you're gonna recommend the council, considers hiring a part-time certified arborist to, to help us with our treatment. Okay, you good? Okay. Iris?
I'll second it.
Okay, so we'll go. Member McElroy,
Yes.
Vice Chair Resco.
Yes.
Member Ramos,
Yes.
Member Tuesian. Yes. And Chair Jones.
Yes.
The next on the agenda, discuss and take appropriate action on recommendation to city council on hiring and creating a city map of Oakville. Okay, does anyone, if you drive around, and I'm sure all of us have neighbors, friends spread out throughout the city of Wood Creek, it's look like it is that. It is, I call it rampant. It's just devastating.
Well, when we were here, with, Ms. Blocky, I remember his first name, Carl Blocky, he did show an old map of the, it had been done years ago, of the outlet areas. And so I know that he didn't want to publish that because he didn't want to get people over concerned. But that would be a good place for us to start. That's going to be hard to figure out where it is and where it's not, because we can't walk around people's houses all the time and walk on the golf course all the time. So I'm open to ideas.
I also think we need someone, I know a lot of people are certainly more experienced than I am, but I agree that there's so many trees of stress that, when they identify a tree as being sick with Oakville, and it could be just that it's not easy. So I think it would be hard for a non-expert to do it.
This may be something, and again, they're asking for your recommendation. I don't think they're asking you to do this, for goodness, but that may be something, if we do have a part-time arborist, that may be something that we have them update.
That would make a lot more sense, because
Yeah, I can't see us out there.
time is just not.
Yeah, but I think that's what the council's looking for, is a recommendation on it, and then what would your recommendation be? I'm sorry, Alex.
I have a question. Is it reasonable to, for the board to put out a notice in the Woodland Review or someplace, advertise in the community for people to report trees that are possibly distressed by Oakville? I don't know what the rules are on that.
Well, owners of property have to be accountable, they themselves can go out and see the thinning canopy, because I go out in my yard and see those leaves fall. But I don't know why we can't make suggestions on composting and.
I don't want to get off topic, but yes, or is there a place, do people call in and report to Maureen?
Do they compost?
Yeah.
Sometimes, if it's been certified, yeah.
there is a requirement in the new ordinance we're voting on, I think it's an old ordinance, but there is a requirement that you have to report.
Right, there is, and we used to notify the homeowners within 100 feet and 200 feet, but that was taken out of the ordinance, so we don't do that anymore.
Has it been put back in the new ordinance?
What's in the new ordinance, and I'm looking at, I don't have the absolute new one in front of me, but I'm pretty confident that's still in it, is that any person who discovers or suspects the presence of oak wilt, should report that information to the city. So if there is a requirement, doesn't always get done, but I know that's your question, right, is there, can you get people to?
Well, so as soon as this ordinance is completed and approved, then you can advertise for it. That's
Yeah.
where-
But you mean try to educate people about the book? Yes, I mean, I think that is gonna, the next, topic is about that.
Well, what we're talking
Yeah.
about now is, do you want to recommend to the city council that we, that they, update the oak wilt map? It's probably not a tough question, that's probably what's to be done.
Yeah.
But just kind of want to hear your recommendation on it, what your thoughts are, how it would be accomplished, would it be the part-time, arbors that we're talking about, or just what your thoughts are in general, I can convey those to the council.
I was gonna say, you know, I know that Mr. Flocky is, focusing right now on wildfire and none on oak wilt. Somebody told us that, you know, when he came and spoke to us. But I would suggest, you know, get in touch with him at our earliest convenient, maybe, you know, have him meet with y'all, you know, with that map and talk about how best you can, you know, get it updated and monitor, you know, just be able to add to it. Because he's got the map, or they've got the map.
Yeah.
We just didn't get a copy.
It's instead of starting.
Don't start from scratch. We've
Right.
already got the work.
And asking if arborists start from scratch.
Now, you know, you can get arborists to go out and say, okay, well, this is great, but look, it seems like it's spread out to here since the last time they did that survey and got the map updated. An arborist may find them. But, you know, don't make them start over covering a square mile of territory and try to figure out what's what.
Procedure, did you ever discuss having a list of trees other than the live oaks that are recommended for this area? And
That-
encourage
Yeah.
people
Yes, that's gonna be part of the educational.
That part's in the works, but
Okay,
we have to identify, you know, the first thing, we have to identify the oak wilt, you know, and then as we work with people on replacement, it's like, okay, this is a much better option here, and so that's where the education process. In fact, we'll be talking about that even at the part of that. It's not before, but to your question, Iris, I'm sorry, I don't mean to take over your meeting, but, you know, to your question about being able to get that kind of information, when the tree ordinance, when we get that passed and it's like news, you know, then we can send out announcements through our email and through our text resources, so let people know what some of the key components are, including reporting, you know, suspected oak wilt. And so that'll help, and we can sort of pinpoint those and we can put a map on the board and start putting, you know, push pins in it, you know, whatever we need to do to make that work. But also if the board recommends that we put something in the paper, or, you know, we sit down with the editor and do a story about oak wilt, then that's certainly okay.
so procedurally, we as this branch of the city council, we just make recommendations and pass them on to the city council, who then makes action tasks.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And so what I'm hearing so far is that you guys think that we need to update the oak wilt map. You know, I'm hearing that, possibly, you know, work with Carl Flocky and then have that map updated possibly by the part-time arbors.
Yes.
Sound right?
Yes.
Or you gonna say that?
Delegate.
Well, you know, updating a map requires having a map. And can we make this map public on the city website? Is there a software that we could use to?
That's exactly what he said he didn't want to do.
He did
because-
with his map.
With his map, because people see that map, their hair starts catching fire.
Oh, yeah. So no public.
So we asked him for the map, at that meeting, and he specifically said, or he'll sort of, I'm not really sure you want to do that, because people see the map and they panic. Because it's not, just, it looks worse on the title. But he said, we have it, we've been tracking this for how long? Like decades.
It was
Oh,
at least 20 years.
Yeah.
We were at that.
So, but it is a basis. So if we can sit down with them with that map and say, as our basis, we just want to, we're not going to put it up on the website. We'll put other information up there, but we need this at some level of detail that our tree work will work.
Okay.
So part of the recommendation is we want to update the map, see if we can get Carl Clarkson to let us use his as a baseline, and then our, arborist will can update from there. That's all right.
I wonder if it would be useful to have some sort of central billboard, or not billboard, I don't know what the word is, but a place where people can call and report that they have book will, so that we can start gathering that information for the map update. And other than one meeting.
That basically exists now, Iris. It's not, Oakville hotline. It's like, contact us, and then we can say, okay, here's how to get, something into the city. It comes in to, staff as a, in a central resource, and they can say, what it's about. And so they could, grab those, put them in the file, and, people will. So that's it. That's kind of in existence. It might need to be tweaked a little bit, but it already exists. Am I speaking out of turn? That's
No,
basically.
that is.
We need to make a motion to.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that the recommendation is to update the Oakville map, and see if we can work with, Carl Clarkson's basic map, and then have the arborist that we recommended that we retain, have them update. Can someone make that motion? Okay. I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth.
No,
Yeah,
you
you
said
said
it right.
exactly, yeah.
Because we can vote down.
You ready for the vote? Board member Ramos,
Yes.
Harrison Jones,
Yes.
board member Tucson.
Yeah.
Board member Elroy,
Yes.
and vice chair Rask.
Yeah.
Okay, next, discuss and take action on recommendation to the council on mailing resident the Oakville brochure from Texas and Boston. We probably all of us got one, meeting, city council meeting that we discussed.
Did we
Oh,
skip,
that's right. Yeah.
did we skip number 6?
That's number on.
Oh, okay, I thought I just heard.
Oh, no, you're right, I
Number
did,
six.
I skipped it, you're right.
We
Discuss and take
decided.
action on incentives for the prevention. You're right, thank you. Yes, incentives for prevention of Oakville.
This is what I think is the best incentive that I can think of. When people, people's pocketbooks. And, because I myself did not realize until Deborah said that if you treat your trees, and if you are in danger of having Oakville, if you treat your trees, you'll have it only costs about 3,000 or 4,000. A dead tree takes up 10,000 to take down. And also, which I have this little thing here from this apple trees, you know, the trees, they say that it says here that trees increase property values and utility costs significantly. Trees provide net financial benefits worth 2 to 3 times the cost of planting the top and caring for them over a period of 30 years. I think that like Pat Rollins sat here in a meeting with the council meeting and made a comment that he went up to 2 people in their yards and he said, you know, you have oak growth. And one person said, well, I don't have any money, I'm remodeling the kitchen or something. The other person said, I have 2 kids in college. They don't realize, you know, they're thinking they have their priorities, but they don't realize if they don't deal with this first, it's going to cost them a lot more money. And I think that we have, you know, I think that we can go out there and send all this wonderful information, but and some people will pick up on it, but the majority of people are going to pick up on it and it's going to, that's my 2 cents.
I agree with that. I mean,
But it also does.
Yes, so they, you know, we could just send out a little bullet brochure that makes and maybe along with the brochure that I think the city's already been printing out to send out, but bullets and to get their attention like that.
One of those, you know, brochures.
Or,
Yeah,
even
I
if,
like those.
yeah, because, you know, today, that's the way we all operate. We get little text messages, everything's in chunks, everything is easy bites, and that's what people have been paying attention to.
What other thoughts do you guys have in creating incentives? Part of it's, you know, education. That's why number 7, we're not going to do that right now, but, you know, we'll talk about sending out the brochure. I said that's already been decided, so we're going to take action. Okay. Education is one thing. That's part of what you're saying is education. Boil it down. Yeah, it costs a little bit to treat them, but it costs a heck of a lot more to print them out, and then you get to take property value wise.
Right.
Within the context.
And utility bills too.
Yeah.
Now, on incentives, I'm sorry, wasn't the city gonna look for possible grants? Or,
We-
that's number 2.
that's, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, there, okay, yeah. That's easy.
I think not mentioned that the cost, even if the information is sent out, this is how much this is how much it costs to treat growth. Well, this is how much it costs to remove the tree. Just if people, really, think about the cost and go from there. In the park, that's really kind of bullets, so that they do, yeah. These brochures are really nice, but I don't know how many people will take this.
Right. Hey, I don't want to interrupt the picture. I don't think I see rain coming down.
I did, yeah, thank you, Lord.
What is that stuff? It's like,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so what other incentives can you guys think of? Education, possibly a simple, bullet point thing, we're talking about cost versus the loss of taking them out. What other incentives you think can y'all think about for the prevention of it? Some of those.
Like it's something, some kind of, I don't know, you get a tree sign in your yard.
Yeah, so they're heritage trees, right? So what if there was some, I don't know if it already is, but some special designation for having a heritage tree in yards? These oaks are needing to be I mean, like the trio in Austin, Texas is a big deal.
Right.
And I like to think nobody's been hung on the trees in Winston.
Well,
But you know, you just.
Who knows?
But,
Well,
but to encourage people to be proud of the heritage of Idaho, the Texas history. What's the designation of your?
24 inches is the heritage in the 19th protected. Is that right?
That's right.
But it could be,
Sorry.
let's grow heritage trees.
So-
Holly.
That's in diameter. Well, circumference tree.
Everybody planted their trees, planted their heritage trees, and they would bring it into, it's in the city hall, like you get tickets, like there'd be a drawing, and then we could have a really good prize for, you know, like a reverse raffle. Also, it's just a weird idea.
Harvard, where they have a major tree.
Oh, no,
The toy.
nominate your tree, nominate your favorite tree.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, I like that idea.
I like that. Nominate your favorite tree in the neighborhood. You could have different neighborhood
And then,
sections.
and then, well, everybody nominate their favorite tree. I think we'll just do the whole, well, two sections, I don't know, that's confusing, that'd be confusing for people. So, and so you could, I guess, you know, you could bring it to Arbor Day and put it in a little thing, and then we'll have to draw. And, no, this is I guess we could tally them up somehow. I don't know how they do it in Austin.
I don't know, I saw it, I thought I put it, copied everything.
Exactly.
Exactly. There's some neighborhoods who, recognize like best our, you know, so it be just, and then make it more than just one.
I'd like to know where the largest oak is.
Well, yeah, we could do, you know, well, the thing, I think anything that we draw attention to the trees, is kind of neat. I mean, the bars, or we could have the tree of the year, and every year for Arbor Day, where we nominate one tree to be the tree of the year, and the one that got the most votes, people, but you know, how do we ask people to just vote for their, or do we select a few trees and have them vote those, or do we ask everybody to send in a tree? I don't know.
That's a good idea. The tree of the year, oak tree of the year, that means you'd have to maintain it, keep it healthy. That means they'd have to want to learn how to keep it healthy. That's a good idea. Learn local literature.
So you're thinking, we could just say, hey, nominate, you know, your tree or a tree, it's oak tree of the
Oak
year.
tree of the year,
Then we selected what, the Arbor Day or something?
correct day, yeah.
I love that, yeah, and I don't know if we can get it together that quick for this time of day.
Yeah.
Everybody else has to think about that, but, yeah, you know, there's a lot of little details to work out of this, but,
Yeah.
it,
Be careful, you overwhelm yourself.
that's right, exactly, exactly.
Sounds good to hear.
And maybe this is something we can think about, but I like, it's a key idea. I mean, I think, I wouldn't try to do it by Arbor Day, have a lot of little details, but, yeah, but everybody would have to, I mean, since we're gonna be a tree city, we can have a tree of the year, and I think it has to be oak tree, but it's probably going to be, because they're pretty.
Right. Yeah.
I think people would never see.
Those are the majority trees in.
Right. And they're the biggest focus, so I think,
Yeah.
we can have to do one.
I think I have a tree in my
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a big one.
Are we talking only native trees? I have a pretty great one in my front
I was
yard.
gonna say, some of the great ones.
Well, yeah, and
We
actually,
have categories of trees, ornamentals, and hardwoods.
I think we should have the one tree, and I think we should let it be instant, because then people will learn different kinds of trees. You know, this year it was the cedar elm, and then you did talk about the canopy and that way that would be educated.
Those trees don't get oak, and we're talking about incentives for oak.
Well,
Right now it is. Right now it is.
I would not ask any of my clients to plant a lot.
Well, this is prevention of, and that's our whole thing. I mean, that's why I'm here, is for the trees. I love my backyard, love my house, I'm sorry, I'm here for those.
And now it's gonna be raining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 4 years.
Oh, my God.
Oh my God, it is raining. Oh,
Yeah. Thank you. Oh,
yeah. It's raining. Like in the village.
That's so much to excite us.
This is what I got so far. Continue with the educational effort, including the brochure. Council has already decided to send that out, so we'll, that number 7 will come on.
Okay.
Maybe add bullet points to that. We talked about showing cost of treatment versus cost of losing a big tree. And then maybe consider having kind of a tree of the year, contest. And we're not sure whether it's going to be oaks or it's going to be any nice tree. Is that what you guys are thinking?
I think it looks good.
We don't have to decide that.
Yeah.
No,
So those are the things that y'all would recommend to the council thus far in terms of
Exactly.
incentives
Yes.
for the prevention work. Okay.
Did everybody get one of these after the city council meeting? This is the brochure and the OPA.
I'm getting one of those copies.
Yeah.
They'll start going out, right?
Yeah,
After the meeting, we'll let you know. Okay.
That was. Good. All right. So,
So y'all ready to make a motion then?
yes.
And someone articulate, that we're gonna do the, continuing education, particularly through the brochure and bullet points about cost of treatment versus losing a big tree and consider tree of the year contest. You wanna make that motion?
okay, I'll make that motion.
Okay. All right. You guys are gonna have to start making your own motions.
I know it's amazing.
Like most of me over there.
So good at some. You're so good.
Okay, all right, so we got a motion in a second.
Yes.
Okay, so the vote, Vice Chair Rasko,
Yes.
Member McElroy,
Yes.
Chair Jones,
Yes.
Member Ramos,
Yes.
and Member Kingston.
All right. Discuss and take action on creating an action plan regarding Oakville with recommendations for the city council.
Jeff, can you help me with that? I'm sorry for the contract. What is the council looking for from that in terms of us coming up with an action plan for Oakville Tree? I don't know if we're really, at the point we can make an action plan.
Well, I'm not actually sure about that, but I mean, what you've already been talking about, which is, and Mike, I just sent you an email just because I didn't want to lose the thought, but we have our, if you're hit going 20 miles an hour, if you're hit going 25 miles an hour,
Oh, yeah.
need something like that with, if you treat it here, it costs $1,000. If you don't treat it here, it costs $5. If you don't treat it here, then, and your property value goes, so it's just those little bullet points that go with the brochure, I think I agree would be helpful. But as far as the, action plan for treatment, we've got a couple of things, going. It's like, and I don't know, I guess grants and things are down there further along, but if the board says, we need, as part of the application process, to put together a list of, qualified arborists, treatment people, so we're not recommending anybody, but here are some that we know of. And here's the reason you want to do that, because, and so it's part of the education process, and that would, but as far as the treatment plan, I mean, the city not going to get into, okay, well, call us up and we'll come out and hook the tanks up to your trees. That's not going to happen on private property. But we can help people facilitate it. And so Now, the treatment plan for our own property, is a whole different deal. I mean, we don't counted dozens and dozens and dozens of trees on city property, many of which, are experiencing trouble. And I think we do need to come up with an action plan, you know, for the city to deal with their own, tree problem.
Okay, but this says oak wood here, so now we have to stick to oak wood. It says oak wood here on this
Right,
agenda item.
right.
So
When I was looking at, ISA and TCI specialists, and it came up with Oakville specialists of Texas, on their website, they specifically say, we will determine and make an action plan for your trees and your property.
Wow.
Yeah, they said we start with the initial assessment, down the road, the feeding, the fertilizing, the trimming, the canopy, I mean, it's just a good, I like it.
Oakville specialist?
Yeah, no, Oakville specialists, I know they specialize in Oakville. I don't know if they have a tree trimming crew or a
They
removal
said
crew.
they like the action
They probably
plan.
stuff that out. Oh, they just come up with a plan.
Yeah, that's what I
Okay.
read on their
Yeah.
site was.
That's awesome.
But we
Yeah.
didn't have in the city properties and the trees, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but in all these trees that we surveyed, did any of them have oak? Or look like they did?
They're on the city canopies, you know, the drought, and I've heard of Anchor does the same thing. Is that right?
Oxland is another fungus that rots the tree from the inside out. Of course, the sapwood is on the outermost rings, specifically in oaks and elms, our native trees. But yeah, so you can get that McCormick growth, like your seed, is like I believe you're describing, through different funguses. Gander, hypoxia.
Hard to tell.
It's harder to tell if you don't see it. So having a survey, you know, we can work from this and determine where to start treatment plans and how to really come up with a plan. But yeah, I mean, just because you see similarities to Oakville doesn't necessarily mean it's Oakville.
Is the golf course willing to work with us?
I hope so. I hope so. I mean, we were sort of counting on the new owners to be receptive.
So in terms of an action plan that we need to discuss and take appropriate action, it seems like the first thing is a survey that we did. We need somebody to make an assessment of what actually needs to happen, right? And then line up people who can do the treatment for that and for removal. And I guess it has to be proper removal or it could spread, right? From diseased trees. So as a group here, doesn't our action plan follow the same plan, except that we have to make an assessment of the need for the city with those trees that are ill or diseased trees. So if we were to make an assessment, what would that mean for us as a group to offer to the city council? I mean, we're not, those are the steps that are required for treating of well. You understand what I'm trying to say?
I kind of do, and I think we've started done an action plan as we've been going along.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, there's some,
Yes.
we recommended that we update from that. Now, then we're gonna look at whatever recommendations they have to see how that fits for their budget. We've also said continue the education along the lines that we previously described, and then, someone made a mention that we can make, I don't know if we can make a list, can we do a list and saying these are people that are, you know, certified to treat oak wilt on, I mean, are we able to do that, or I mean, that could be part of the plan. These are all the things that we've discussed already, kind of.
Right.
Just recommendations.
Yeah.
That's
Putting that out there, probably of who's trusted, who's qualified.
Yeah.
You know,
On it with Joe Blow.
You get into a little bit of a tricky area if it sounds like you're recommending, like Jacob over Fred, right? So generally what here's links, we found a link that sorts on, certified arborists in this zip code. Or in water zip code. So it's like, and here are some of the questions you should ask, as you're interviewing this arborist or the tree person. Here's a couple of, just like things you can do without saying, well, call Jacob because he's the best.
Yeah. That sounds, but that would.
But that is something that the city can do without crossing any line, right?
So it sounds to me like we've already created an action plan, just in our discussion today on agenda items. So if we were to review the minutes and take out the specifics of assessment, treatment, and removal and education perhaps, then we've got the treatment plan to recommend to the city council, right?
I think you do, and look, we've covered so far, recommending hiring arborists, update the map, hear back from the arborist, continue the education process, and then look at who's providing the links, for resources and dealing with.
Yes, and sending out mail. That could be a point for mail information.
Yeah.
Education, as well as in things. So, and our work. So I guess the question is who's gonna put all that together? We need to put it together.
What I'm gonna do is when we get done, after you guys have voted on everything, I'm just gonna come through and list everything John recommended, and then when we have a council meeting, I'll read it to them, right? So, and I'll work with Maureen and see if I get confused, so hopefully I gotta do it pretty quick, because in a few days won't be reading my writing, so.
Thank you. So do you need somebody else from this board to assist?
I think it's all right, yeah. Okay. Thank you. Do we need a motion on that, or?
Make a motion. I'll make a motion.
Woo-hoo. I second.
What is your motion?
Oh, motion is.
Motion has that word.
Motion is to create we create an action plan and recommendation for city council.
Okay, I think I missed it. What are the recommendations?
Recommendations, arborist,
Recommending arborists
update map,
and update the map.
continuing the education.
Yep.
And provide these links or resources for folks who.
Providing resources for the community. And recommendations.
With or without recommendation.
With or without recommendation.
Okay, so we have a motion, sorry, to your committee. You got a motion to.
Oh, second.
Okay. Chair Jones? Yes. Member Tasian?
Yes.
Member McDonald?
Yes.
Vice Chair Rasko?
Yes.
And Member Ronald?
Yes.
Moving on. Discuss the options, activities for the Arbor Day event. Scheduled October 4th at Camp Young Judea beginning at 2:30. And this one's for 5.
That's a good question. I think it's 2:30 to maybe 4:30, with 5 to 7.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
because you're
these
breaking
two are
it into
important.
two, you're breaking it into two things like that?
Three things if you want to really get down to the details. We've got Wood Creek Day, which is what the camp wants to do for us, to invite all of Wood Creek in and enjoy their property, go swimming in the pool and all that stuff. So that's Wood Creek Day. Then there's our Arbor Day celebration and educational events. And then like at 5 o'clock, we move into National Night Out. So it's
So
just,
you kick everybody out between.
no. No, we hope they come in too and stay till 2:30 and stay till 2:30.
So this is not a vote, this is just.
Discussing all the events and sponsors and what activities and what.
Yeah, and I would like to ask that, I know that you've got a subcommittee, of the tree board that is, thinking about, sort of that component of it. I would like to meet with that subcommittee and then Chris Brummer, and anybody that he's pulled together from his resources, because he is supposed to be working on the National Night Out component, but I'd like in the next week or so to get everybody, just have a little subcommittee meeting and talk about October 4th and just get it on paper a little bit better, so.
Maybe a hearing and.
Yeah.
You know, I've never been to Camp MGD. I'd like to go before Arbor Day to
We can make that happen.
look at, okay, have you been?
Not long.
In fact, if they're between camp, we might be able to actually meet there. And just sort of look around a little bit.
The camp send it.
I'm let them look at yours.
See what it
is. Okay. Whenever y'all can get together, give me a, how I can.
Yeah, it's either that or, if you want to call a meeting so that you can take a chance to have it. I mean, if 3 of y'all wanted to go out there at the same time, we need to post it.
Yeah, we need to have like a workshop.
Yeah, we'd have a planning workshop, at the camp, let's say, so we can do that.
You want to meet with Dorothy and, Terry.
Terry, Chris, and me, but I'm, I want to be involved with it. I've been thinking about it for a long time.
I think Dorothy has some ideas.
Well, I live in that trip, but if we're doing a mailer, I was wondering if we could do a little card like state save the date, for like Arbor Day.
Sure.
Yeah, do something fun to, I'm sure someone can come up with something.
Dorothy, if you will, but so what we're trying to do in order to save money for the city is we're doing a couple of things in one mailing. And one of the things that I would like to do is a little kind of newsletter kind of thing, and I'll just make that for so to speak, top of the page. So we don't have another piece of paper, which just increases postage. So we want to keep the postage below now so that you can get it out as quickly as possible, but as much information as we can get. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Posting goes without saying, we're gonna blanket the town with social media.
I was saying we can do the board applications, this is Arbor Day. Yeah.
The billboard?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Yeah, can't do that anymore.
I know we were talking about bullet points, but a pie chart too, is good if there's a visual. If we can somehow say we're cutting down, 50-foot tree, this is how much it would be to treat this tree and just do it in a pie chart.
Yeah, I'm thinking that, you know, the bullets would go along with this overall and have to be simple, like Jeff said, because we gotta keep the posted stuff. But we could do that other kind of stuff, we could hand out information and other.
Okay, and I picked up quite a bit, and I apologize. The allergies, they actually the same because I took as much as I could. And this is from the Discovery Center in San Marcos. And I met with, the tree expert there. She was really nice, and gave lots of information. And it was instruction. Yes, and this definitely good. To pass that.
Yeah. And you can get numbers. Okay.
You can order it, we can't get it free, but you can order it, the website, and, yeah, it's just, yeah, you can look over and see that would be worth it. I know kids may not be that involved in school, it's in session, but she gave me a few things. But this is, continue. This was a coloring book, and on the website it's $1.50. So I don't know, we maybe couldn't get smaller, but they could be copies, and then child could pick up.
Well, yeah, what we could do is just have, you know, some copies of them and print it out for the little ones to do. So to take with them.
But there's like information here, and some is real easy reading, and it almost is like bullet points and how to plant a tree, how to mulch. And this is here.
So my sister is, when she does her master naturalist, she does education, and she said they can do a pop-up. You know, they have copies of, I can't remember what we decided would be a good one. So that, I decided that.
So those are great. I'm really curious about the tree, the coloring book. It says HEB. Are there going to be sponsors for the Arbor Day use?
What we get done, we'd love to have some sponsors. Yeah. I mean, Cam Day is gonna be a big sponsor.
Like HEB. There's a local one down the street. I don't know. So I don't know.
Yeah, you just, I've gotten donations for some of these, with, but they're very generous, with the library.
So would you say you could contact Oakland specialists to have to have some talking to the public about Oakland?
We can ask anybody if they just, there's, yeah, you do it, like booths, like,
Yes.
okay, you give us $150 for a booth, you know, and you can talk to all the people in Wood Creek. Or you're a master naturalist and, you know, we'll give you a table for free because of what you're gonna provide. So that's kind of the difference, whether we want, you know, sponsor, whether we want to sell tables as sponsorship, it's an option.
So there are tables?
Yeah, so what the campus said they would do is provide, you know, some tables and chairs for that. Feed us, they're going to provide the food.
For everyone?
It is BYOB, but they can't provide sell liquor, but you can bring a beer if you want. They're being, as always, they're being extremely generous, with their space and they're gonna help us with the stuff that we have to provide, like, you know, soft drinks and things. They're going to get their supplier to give it to us at their cost, and so they'll ship it in, store it for us, have everything
So
ready.
the city's taking care of all
We're already on it. You know, we went out and met with them, Maureen and Suzanne and I. We went out and met with Danny, and he said, no, we'll do that.
Wonderful.
The only thing is it's Yom Kippur.
It's what?
Yom Kippur.
Oh.
So at sunset, we're gonna be gone. Now, the staff is not, but Danny will be gone. Danny will leave in the afternoon, go home, be with his family, and he will not be around. But it'll be staffed and everything will be fine. But we do have to be respectful.
So have y'all approached anybody for sponsorship, like a diamond, platinum, gold, silver? Is that what we're thinking of?
That's what we need to cash out. I haven't heard anything.
Yeah, I think that would be, I mean, it's like, like, we're not really trying to raise a bunch of money, and we don't have a whole lot of costs to absorb. If we go to HEB, for instance, and say, listen, I mean, your name's on this coloring book, and there are 100, they're going to have these, we'd like to have, 20 of them, can you make that happen?
Okay.
What we'll do is we'll take, and if Oakville specialist says, hey, we'll come out, and I don't mean to call them out specifically, but if somebody says, we'll do this, and look, we've got all this stuff that we can provide, and we'll do it at our cost. That's fine. If they get some business out of it, well, fine. So if we can get a, monetary, support from like an LCRA or, somebody like that, or PEC, then, if it's something that's interested in, we will reach out and touch them. But to have, platinum, gold, silver,
Yeah, I figured it's 2 days.
Okay.
that's a little bit, because then we have to, then we all have to be out, balance the dollars.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that's really what we want to do. We've got money in the budget to help support this.
We talked about, plans change, which seems very community. And, someone has said that you have that,
Saplings,
giving away the saplings, Prickles or Audubon, that,
Jacob had a,
but I
Well,
couldn't find it on there.
So I was looking at the shipping dates for saplings from the Arbor Day Foundation and other organizations, and they can't even ship until November. So that's going to kind of put us out of line for that program. We can always look into next year, I think. So in place of that, I was thinking maybe we could do a raffle of a bigger tree of 65 gallon or something. And we could sell them for $5 to $10 a piece, and then for kids get away a coloring book with every purchase of raffle ticket. Possibly. That could kind of show that the community actively trying to plant trees, that we're aboard and that we're actively doing stuff.
So, when we get closer to the event, we have to know what we're doing. Who wants to go on the radio?
I'm on every Monday morning,
Oh, are you?
Are you really?
Oh,
Huh.
8:30 every Monday morning.
Is that with Pamela?
No, it was, Carol Wilson and John Dell.
Oh, okay.
But maybe somebody can treat.
We have a whole Wood Creek corner.
on a different time.
Well, even.
I'll bring anybody with me.
Oh, we should.
Yeah, and we can talk to all 12 people who listen to the station today. No, I think that our best bet is going to be, sort of multimedia. So we'll get on the radio, and I'll be selling it every week for weeks. But if we can get Dalton to run a nice story in the paper, if we can get somebody like a Wimberley Gardens or somebody who's, they live in Wood Creek. You get somebody to say, hey, we'd like to do that. So we say, oh yeah, and our partners here, Wimberley Garden, are helping out. They're going to have some trees to give away or something like that. So we can work the PR angles hard and heavy, but it's.
Has anyone talked to Wimberley Gardens? Okay, so the subcommittee is that y'all are talking
They were on our
about?
list.
Yeah. Okay.
I was just thinking, we have Arbor Day, National Night Out, Wood Creek Day. It's gonna get confusing. We just call it Wood Creek Day.
No,
I'm just saying, that's just an idea. Because, people get so.
oh, just call it Wood Creek Day?
Yes, people people get so confused if you're trying to break it in half, you know, which would you go into, what time? You know, people get so confused unless it's very concise.
Well, we
And
can,
if
we
it's
can,
taught with
we can brand it as Wood Creek Day and say,
underneath each
starring Arbor Day.
You have Wood Creek Day and then under it, different Arbor Day and
Huh?
National Night Out.
Yeah.
But just all in all, call it Wood Creek Day, like you're putting on the billboard in front. It's, yeah, people get very confused.
Kristen said you have to have an Arbor Day.
So is there a quilting?
Yes.
Is there a quilt called the Tree of Life?
Yeah, absolutely.
I was just.
That's what it is.
Yeah, it just seemed like something like that.
Well, it could never be done by Arbor Day. That would have to be next year.
Put it on the Jacob's list next year.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea though.
Everybody goes to school.
There you go.
Yeah, but it was kind of true. I don't know.
What exhibitors, people have you talked to for your food? And I asked the person I met with, that she basically,
You know, right now, I'm gonna give you all my sister's information. Chris Middleton is her name, and she does, you know, master natural education. And so if you talk directly with her,
We,
I
Monica,
can't
Monica,
remember. Yeah.
we can give it to your team.
Oh, okay, all right, we're not saying that. I'll do that.
There's millions of people watching.
Right. We'll work with the subcommittee.
So there's King Beach here, there's Woodley Gardens,
Yeah,
and
Master Plan,
Ace.
Woodley Gardens, Ace.
I touched
King
base
Beach.
with Brittany at Ace. She would like to get Michael from the Canyon Lake Store, who's a plant expert, and have a table to talk to people about the trees. And,
Not the native plants society, but they do interesting now. Would you contact here? I don't know, I just know there is one.
okay,
Or my sister might have.
okay.
And we can bring people into the planning committee that aren't members of this group. I mean, maybe if Chris wanted to serve on the committee, she could, or something like that, but nothing else.
So I think Ace Hardware is on board for exhibit being, table. What about King Beach or Woodley Gardens? Okay, all right.
Maybe local specialists.
Oh, book specialist,
Or, community barber.
anyone that's ISA, CCI?
So, what does it cost for a table though, you're coaching, what
I mean, that's up to y'all, but I mean, $100, you know, it's like, you know, just to,
Well, we're not trying to make money.
That's-
Necessarily, we would like to put even, but.
I think it sort of depends on what if I sell stuff and I just want to show up with some of my brochures, you know, we should get some money for that. If you are bringing stuff in education, if you're bringing education to the group, and then you have some stuff that somebody can take with them, you know, the parts, and that's something else entirely. But, yeah, you could go out and let's say, okay, we're going to send a notice out to every tree company that works in the area, you know, because we've got all the tree permits. I mean, we know basically who the, okay, so, you know, you can come out and have an exhibit, you know, for 150, you know, and, you know, try to get people to buy your services. But I just don't think that's really what we're trying to do.
Not this first one.
Yeah.
And,
It's somewhat limited. There's a deck that he said that he would suggest we use outside of the fishbowl. And it's not quite as, probably maybe around this size of this room, thereabouts. And then there's, of course, lawn all the way around, and then they have the outdoor kitchen that's right there. So there'll be cooking up birds or whatever. So everything's gonna sort of be right there in that area outdoors. Then the pool's right there, and they have games and things that kids play on. It's a good spot, and then it just sort of naturally blends in out. And so at 5:30 or so, the ambulance comes and the fire engine and the sheriff's department, and we turn it into National Night Out. And just a different, just a different perspective, but the same people, I mean,
So
they
the
have some,
people that are coming to the booths would probably be there from 2:30 to 4:30.
right.
And so that, so there is a shift, but it doesn't really matter to people that are coming.
Will there be entertainment?
Yes, we're gonna, for one thing, we're gonna invite the radio station to come out and live broadcast from there. So if they've got the time and they're willing to do it, then we'll have some, we'll have not live music, we'll have live broadcast, from there. So they'll also, sort of pushing it out there. If we want to have, a little band or something like that, that would be something we do.
But David, you'll have at 5:30, you'll have, the ambulance coming to talk and the constable and stuff. So, it doesn't know if it's really necessary because you'll be wanting these people to be talking to you and to the people in the group. I'm just saying the other side. I'm just giving you different options. Is it really necessary?
It's atmosphere more than anything else. I mean, we're not putting on a concert. It's more different.
I would encourage to kind of keep it simple and keep it focused, because man, you can get overwhelmed.
Right.
If you get too far up there. So, yeah, no one's expecting this to be, what the Las Vegas show and it's right. But, yeah. And so you guys have ideas kind of how y'all want to, how you want to do it and what you want to do.
So, have you approached the radio station already, or?
I was just ready. Give me 2 minutes and I'll say yes.
No, that's which is the word.
They're going to have, I don't know if you call it, pool will be open, they have a huge playground there for kids and stuff, so they have a beautiful little bridge you can walk over and sit down and have a quick, it's just fun, you know. I think. Yes, exactly.
Investment overall. We shouldn't have any bubbles. Maybe they don't need bubbles, but just, fun. It's all like,
Jeff, will there be a lifeguard on duty?
So
Yeah, I think it's gonna be swimming around, there's a chance, that's gonna have to be.
we didn't talk specifically about lifeguard, but normally they would.
Yeah, there's gonna have to be that.
Yeah, he was saying that they're needing lifeguards so much they're paying them. What did he say? When we said 9 hours or something for a lifeguard.
But they, bubbles are fun for those. We don't know what kind of turnout they'll be, but there's already a lot of fun things for kids to do. I'm a kid person, I'm a teacher, I have my grandkids all the time. So I appreciate that people think about kids, but when I think about that place, I think that there's so much to do there for kids that it's a gift. I mean, that's kind of taking off the place of this committee.
if you're announcing it on the radio, does that mean the whole community is invited?
Yeah.
Wood Creek.
This is Wood Creek Corner, so it's like, so you're not gonna be able to, you're not gonna
Can't listen.
you're not gonna have to flash a utility bill or anything. But, we're gonna focus on Wood Creek. Good question.
Just one out loud. Thank Dorothy and Terry and Monica spring. Doing all of that. So
Well, you will.
What else for the event schedule? Any more?
Well, we talked a little bit about that. Maybe we're doing too much about having a plan. Maybe we should say that. We could do that in the spring.
That's not, don't, let the subcommittee do their work and see what they want to do.
Right.
You know, doing a plan exchange, it's like, hey, you got a plan, bring it. And, you know, if you got them, you got them, if you don't, you don't. You know, so it doesn't have to be, you know, bushels of plans. You know, but let's start small and work from there, see what works, and you go from there. But I wouldn't squelch any ideas at this point.
And seeds for the seeds, something like that. This is October's a great time.
That's true.
That's nothing else. How about some natives that which are required to move on and tolerate chronic?
You know, they used to do this thing where they had like speed bottles with kids.
Oh, that's.
Yeah. And master gardeners too, I believe that's another group, they might have a, you know, things like this.
Yeah, contacting our McCoy and they've done extension on.
Yeah, they almost, I mean, they used to do library, at the library, pick up it for these kind of things, because they're, you know, that's part of their mission. Yeah. They have to do the food off.
Those canopy that, it's fun. So I would just suggest, milkweed seeds.
Oh,
They're
yes,
available.
absolutely.
And wildflower seeds and natives. I've been collecting them in my yard. I mean, I don't have enough to really increase them, you know, a lot of people like customers to get some natives.
I'll see if King Jesus is. And then the nursery,
I know.
Moon nursery, he's real interested in the table.
She got that.
I'm talking to people about trees. First, you know, I think it's down, he has a nice big folder, expensive looking folder. It's called Moon Nursery. I think I have all that information on. His name is Ismail. They're 45 years in the business. Moon, M-O-O-N. These big, beautiful, look, older, red tree. You may contact, well.
Oh, what, I'm sorry? Oh, I gave it to you, the last meeting. What's that?
The new nursery right now, he was interested in the table at our day. I don't know what it is. I'm sorry. I'll get another one. So, back up.
Contact people like King G, Lily Garden. We ask them if they want to have a table, we pay X number of dollars, or if they're gonna come and hand stuff out, they can come to the screen.
Yeah, I would, you know, if you're going to King Key, for instance, I would just tell them what we're planning to do. We would love their support. You know, some of the support that you might be able to provide is making available, you know, free native plants for people to take home, or providing a suitable tree for the raffle, or, you know, just like something like that. and then, be a part of the celebration and just, I don't know, it's sort of being creative.
Yeah, I
Or
know.
to go, because every one of these people we're talking to has a different product or service. It's not like, it's not like we're doing it. Well, no, but that's fine. I mean, they can be in different corners of the deck. And it's like, I mean, it's sort of like, okay, here's what we want to do. We're looking for support and ideas. So, some of the things that we've been talking about are, like saplings or plants or food raffles or whatever, or, if you just want to, donate, $200 and we'll put your logo on everything that goes out as a sponsor. We do that too, so. We just have to be sort of creative, because if we were having a paint convention, we know exactly what to do. But it's like, it's all gonna be really different. And so I think we just have to be creative and talk to them and, I mean, we can sit down together and talk about sort of strategy for how to approach, some of these things.
So do you have someone who does marketing? So if you say, we'll do a banner or something, or in a brochure, or someone will put that together.
Right, we'll make that happen. I mean, just like a banner or something like that would be, I mean, and we did that with Spooktacular. There was a little banner of the interest that had Rawlings designs. So if let's say HEB says, yeah, we'd love to be a sponsor. In fact, here's $500, and we'll provide marshmallows. Then we just first thing that came to mind, I don't know why, thinking Ghostbusters. But that's what they want to do. They say, great. And so we have the banner, there's HEB logo at the bottom. Like, we just have to be creative with them and, so what is it that we can provide for you, for your sponsorship? What does that look like?
Or we'll put your banner up.
Yeah.
Only thing to say about that is sometimes there's gotta be lead time, you gotta get their camera ready stuff.
Yeah.
I know.
Sometimes, I mean, like, a lot of times when you do it, we have to almost be orders in advance.
Right.
Time. So that's what I'm saying, don't overwhelm yourself, but, be creative, but just recognize that what time should it go fast.
Right.
Yeah, true.
And it's August, and, having for every 6 months.
My next question is, does the tree board have money in there if we wanted to do t-shirts? Like, I know everybody wears t-shirts, and we have our favorite one. Do we want to do the first annual Wood Creek Arbor Day, limiting it to like the first 50 people get a free t-shirt?
Yeah, I think.
You don't have that kind of budget.
Yeah. And we need to keep it like Brad was just talking about, we need to keep it simple the first time.
You asked for $5,000 in your budget, and that's what's being requested. And then we bumped it up, sort of a little bit more than what sort of put it in that green space area of the budget.
Yeah.
So
Okay. If I can get someone to donate t-shirts,
absolutely.
do we want to do the first annual?
Who are you gonna get the design?
That would be my next thought was, okay, if I can get someone to donate, say, 40, 50 t-shirts first, we could do them. Do you have someone in mind that?
Chris Gromer designed that t-shirt.
That's a great t-shirt.
Yeah, I think we could just sell more of these.
Yeah.
If we're gonna do anything. But, you're not gonna get 40 t-shirts, it's probably the first
Right.
When you go to order things, yeah, the first round, you probably have to order at least 100 to get any kind of deal on this t-shirt, that's not. That Deborah is the person to talk to, I don't have no idea.
Yeah, one of the things, and going back to the Tree City USA thing, the more that we can get, like, especially y'all, maybe a t-shirt or something that says
Arbor Day.
Wood Creek Arbor Day, October 4, and y'all all match, y'all look alike, maybe you have a little banner that says Arbor Day, you get that on film, what do you call it now? It's a picture of that, and put that as part of our application.
We're talking to people that have been certified, like New Braunfels, 34 years, Bastrop, 13. I mean, when you talk to those people, they said, you've got to push the Arbor Day, everything has to be Arbor Day. Oh, yeah, so what do you want to do? It needs to be Arbor Day. Yeah. Yeah, and you don't just, once you get it, you don't keep it, you have to change it every year. Yeah.
Or every year we have to have Arbor Day, is what you're saying. And, but we can still say Wood Creek Day and underneath the Arbor Day, National Night Out. Doesn't sound like it.
But you could switch it next year.
Right.
But that comes up in April.
The National Arbor Day.
Yeah. I think that would be the best one with this discussion.
Yeah.
Deciding to go through the USA requirement.
Right.
They took offer with you, but I think, this is not about competition. Nobody's mentioned Berkshires, and sometimes they have.
Oh, yeah.
But this project is about community and communal thinking, and collaboration, rather than competition.
There's no competition.
Well, I heard that word a little wrong.
Oh, they're just saying, like, if King Feed,
King Feed and.
King Feed and Wimberley Gardens were next to each other, that there could be some tension there, which I don't think there really is. There's no spirit of competition here whatsoever.
Well, there would be more decorous if they were separated, perhaps, in a place. The attitude would be a collaboration.
So we don't have to make any motion on this because it's discussed, isn't that right? Yeah. So, yeah.
We have two more
Thank-
items.
Yes.
Anything else for Arbor Day event discussion? Free t-shirts, free sponsors.
We do.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you like to move on to? Next is discuss potential grant application for overall prevention for Texas Park. And you're all
So, just quickly on that, we can move on. We met with a group that specializes in grant applications, and mentioned that would be a concern, something that we would like to approach, and so they're doing some research on it. She didn't seem real encouraging as far as being able to get just a pile of money that we could hand out for people doing. But she also said it wasn't enough. There are specific grants that are accepted at specific times for specific reasons, and if we can put those components together, we might have a chance of getting some grant money. And so it's on our list.
So what do we need to discuss?
That's as much as I can discuss, is that we talked about it with some experts that deal with this kind of thing, and it's on their list. They're looking at what's possible.
I think it's an art.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm always for free money. But well, it's a fairly complicated process, but that's what they do for a living. And we don't have a grant writer on staff, so it's like one of those things that okay, they write the grant, it gets awarded, and they get a cut. You know, it's because the grant has to be administered. So they become the administrators of the grant. You know, they get a percentage for doing all the work, because they will do all the work.
Yeah, I think, and so this is basically just on there to inform us with that.
Right, that it is, that we have made some inquiries into, grants specifically for opioids. In Woodford. But it's a weird deal because it's like, you can't just say, okay, well, you know, Terry's grant company, you're our, you know, grant writers. You have to actually go out for bids. You know, they come back and say, okay, so you get your bids for grant preparation. And you say, okay, we want this one, and they go to work, and it's a fairly complicated grant process, but because it is so, I guess, so easy to, deceive, that's the word I was looking for, a nice word for steal. It's, you know, like, you've heard all the stories about people who have gone out and bought their, you know, mansions and Lamborghinis with PPP money, right?
And a grant is for a specific purpose.
Yeah, so it's really kind of bolted down, doing some of these kind of things. So this is a very, very, very reputable company. They've been there for a long time. They're Central Texas based. They know what they're doing, and we like them a lot. But even they said we can't even talk about specifics. You know, so we have items on the agenda for Wednesday, beginning the process of engaging some of these, not on the tree stuff yet, because they didn't have anything that we could talk specifically about. But if you watch the meeting on Wednesday night and follow up on that, you'll see a little bit of how that whole thing works.
So that's in the,
It's on the agenda.
that is already in motion. Right?
Right.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Any more comments on that one? Julianne, what would you say? Okay, next, discuss and take appropriate action on removing the woods and dead trees in city right of way.
I do have a question. For these grant applications, what kind of input do you need from each one?
I don't know. Probably nothing yet. And I don't know yet. I mean, so like, I mean, it would, my guess is that, okay, so you get the grant writer on board, and then say, okay, I need you to sit down with Iris and Cynthia and talk through how you want it to work. You know, and so somebody from council, somebody from the tree board sits down and has that. I really don't know. See where it's at.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, let's talk about, I think we mentioned it before earlier, using the dead trees and chipping for mulch or using back. The canopy, brick lines, save the roots from lower root damage.
Yeah, we do.
Is there a concern about using it if they're dead from oak wilt? Should we be using that, or?
Carl Blanky said red oak are the only one that we should,
It should be destroyed.
yeah,
Red oak.
remove from the sign and fall on.
Buried.
Yeah.
It is, it's in the family.
Yeah.
So there's several species of red oaks, and then red oaks carry the spore mat that can contaminate other trees. So they should be removed from the city. I was thinking, you know, large diameter pieces of wood that's live oak or even cedar elm could be set aside for firewood, and then it's not as far as I got. But as far as using mulch for, putting around the base of the trees, it would have to be set aside somewhere for the community to come get it. And then if it was never came and gotten, all the way at some point.
We used to have the whole back of the parking lot was a pile of mulch. For a while, because the company that we use to do the loan pickup every year, picked it up, mulch, and then they dumped everything, and then everybody said, okay, just come get it. You know, so sometimes,
So is old brush pickup provided by Waste Management now? Is there brush pickup?
was it?
The annual brush pickup, do you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is.
And that's twice a year?
No, once a year.
Just once a year? Okay.
And that went into the garbage truck, right? Didn't they come around with the garbage truck to pick all those in?
No, they use a separate truck, but I don't know what they do with it.
They shred it,
All the way.
they come down my street, shred it. Oh.
Okay. Two comments. I want to say something. So if we're talking about dead trees that don't have wet oak wilt, some of that would be used by furniture makers or carvers or artists. I mean, I don't know about that specifically, but it seems like we could do something else besides just mulching.
For sure.
I mean, if it's big enough, right? And I know that wood is a premium these days. The other idea is that it sounds like we might need, maybe, I'm gonna say that maybe, a yard where mulch could be by the city, owned by the city, dedicated for mulching and other materials that are yard trash. I'm sorry.
You're getting into a whole other business.
Yeah.
I just know some of the bigger cities have it, and it, again, you know, it could be a futuristic idea, I have a tendency to do that. But it sounds like if there was a specified yard, it wouldn't be in the back of the city hall. That's.
One year, I remember when the tree man went around, you had the option to leave a note on your limb that said, leave them all.
We used to do that, and they don't do that anymore.
They don't do that. Maybe go back to doing that.
That would require, separating your red oaks from your live oaks. That way, making sure your red oaks are getting hauled away from the property. And this is talking specifically for right-of-way trees. So I think it's a great idea to have mulch left, but to separate your red oak from your live oak is almost impossible, because you gotta keep up with production. So maybe leaving mulch on site or next to the roadside isn't a good idea, or having it hauled to a central location. But instead, just having large burnable firewood left on the roadside. Cut to 18-inch lengths, which is the average fireplace length. I know you mentioned using it for furniture. It's got to be handled. So leaving 6-foot spars of trunk, you can't put that in the back of your car, unfortunately. So manageable pieces, and then large enough for burning without leaving mulch is my suggestion.
So are there specific regulations, and I'm sorry I have to call that, but are there specific regulations about removal of trees that are diseased with oak wilt, and what happens to that wood when a homeowner says, I've got oak wilt trees, I need to remove them? What happens at that stage?
It's hauled off to a brush recycling facility.
Even if it's oak wilt?
It is not
Yes.
aware
So in the composting process, the center of a compost pile is around 180 degrees where the fungus dies. So it's no longer an active fungus once it's starting the compost process.
And so Cindy was talking a minute ago about we just had a blank about chipping on this oak trees. Yeah, and so how the only trees that are being identified as oak wilt are the ones that are on public property, and people could be getting rid of their trees and just throwing them into garbage bags for the garbage people to pick up, right?
We don't know what private citizens are doing. I'm thinking, we're often talking about the cities, the trees and the right of way, the city right of way.
Probably.
So are we, does that mean we're talking about the cities that are, the trees that are in the streets, like the island trees? Is that what this is referencing? And it's asking us if we should, if we should reuse the wood, from dead trees to mulch.
So if you're asking about city-owned property, city-owned trees.
So we're only focusing on city-owned trees right now.
Right.
And so the question here, what was supposed to be, was discussing whether we should reuse wood. So why are we asking this question then? We don't even have any reused wood. I'm confused.
So
We haven't cut down any of these trees yet. We don't have.
we're about to.
So they're asking if that wood should be shredded and used as mulch on the trees in the road. Is that correct?
No, mine didn't.
There was a potential, there was a suggestion that there was a tree remover who would take this dead wood in place of cash, in place of a charge to get rid of it.
Okay, one of these people has suggested that they would do that for us.
That they know of someone that would do that
So
for
that they know someone that would do that for us. So why wouldn't we do it? Unless we're worried about a red oak
So that's,
being
so
in
the
there.
process, yeah, so the process that we've discussed would be to have, okay, so here's a tree, it's obviously it's dead or almost there.
Mhm.
Arborist comes out and says, yes, it's oak wilt, no, it's not a redwood. You know, so the guy says, okay, I will take this tree away. What you do with it, we don't really care. If you want to chop it up for firewood, knock yourself out. But if you're removing this tree from the city right away and it doesn't cost us anything, that's hundreds, if not thousands of dollars that, you know, we can put back into more productive use.
Right, so why wouldn't we want to do it?
We didn't.
Okay.
We did.
What,
That's what we
There
said.
should just be specific guidelines of, set a date and whether you're gonna do it. And that way traffic is kind of controlled, because this isn't the right of way.
but we're talking about mulching the trees in the city, right? And the
No.
trees that
No,
are
we're
reusable
talking
wood.
about selling, we're talking about
Someone's
getting
gonna do it for free.
for free, because they want the live oak wood for firewood.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't specify it until Marie said it.
Okay.
If they do that, I think,
Yeah.
let them do it.
What about the criteria that would not be oak wilt?
So-
It's not,
Setting up guidelines would, make sure if it is red oak, it's gotta be all the way from the property, nothing red oak is left. And then,
but if it's red oak, the guy that hauled it away for firewood is not consulted on it. If we determine that it's a red oak that died from oak wilt, then we take it the other direction, which is, okay, we say take it out, get it to the compost place or whoever manages that, and we dispense with it properly. But if it's live oak, which happened to die or is gonna be taken out, then if somebody will do it for free. And whether they turn into firewood or mulch or carve grizzly bears, doesn't really matter.
Donate one to the city.
Okay, so do we make a motion on this, that we would do, that we're okay with them doing that?
Yeah, we pursue the,
Okay.
We take the money and find someone who will pay to get live oak trees.
If this person will really, will do it, then yes, we're fine.
Okay,
That's
so,
the motion.
well, yeah, the motion will be, to recommend the council that we explore reusing the wood from dead trees and street right away.
No,
not
it is,
reusing.
no, wait, but it is, I think, if I'm understanding this correctly, I've twisted around a few times, but I think that, Maureen said that someone said that they know somebody that would possibly cut down our dead trees for free if they could have the wood.
Yeah,
They could have the
know
wood.
Dan, the firewood man, who would probably, I'm thinking, he asked me once, if you ever have any dead live oak trees you know of, let me know. I will take them down for the firewood, I'll keep it.
Correct, so why wouldn't we let them do this for free? Yeah, so anyway,
That's your motion.
Yeah.
If they will remove them for free, live oak, not red oak, if they will remove them for free, then, yeah, you want the council's blessing to contract, with Dan the tree guy or whoever it is.
So then this statement needs to be clarified, rather than, yes, rather than just wood from dead trees. It's wood from dead live oak trees. With the specification that
It's a hardwood, yeah,
Or hard.
So this.
He's not coming for that.
Neither am I, neither am I.
So what was the motion?
The motion is to use this motion would be to contract volunteers person to remove a dead live oak tree at no cost to the city
To the city in return for use as firewood.
in return for PVC.
now we just say live oak, or should we just say any trees?
Yeah, specifically,
The live oak or any tree except red.
any tree, I suggest any tree other than meadow.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we have mostly is elms and red and live oak. Couple of trash trees. Those weren't even the dead ones.
The ash, or did you say trash or ash?
Trash.
They almost go in the same category. I don't hate any trees.
I even have yours.
So do we need
You know,
to
they sell them on
specify?
the Arbor company.
Well, you do, yeah.
Do we need to specify anything about the red oaks? Or is
We-
that already covered?
It was covered, it says, yeah, excluding red oaks. Specifically excluding, any trees other than.
This motion,
But,
Yes.
yeah. The probability.
And did we have a second on that?
You know, branch,
Vote.
I,
Vice Chair
Yes.
Good try. Member Ramos?
just the right.
oh, yes.
Member Tuesday? Chair Jones?
Yes.
And Member McDowell?
Yes.
Thank you for doing all
Oh,
this.
you're welcome.
Yeah.
It takes a lot.
We can thank you. You did a lot, you got a lot of it.
Thank you too.
Yeah. You gotta move further.
Oh, this is what we, okay.
And then I'm gonna tell you something. So that's right now that is a Google spreadsheet. You can convert it to Excel or whatever. And we can we can house it up on the city website, and hopefully set it up